Okay, so today we're going to get into some geometry, and the geometry we're going to be doing are points, lines, and line segments. Okay, the first thing that we are going to go over is a point, and you'll probably find out that it's quite easy. It's very simple. Now let's imagine, like I told you earlier, remember we had our graphing grid with the x-axis and the y-axis and all the little squares that we knew we had ordered pairs. Well, imagine now we're making that invisible. I don't care where the point is, just to know there is a point. And a point is just that, it's a point. And we usually label it with a letter. This is point B. Okay? And guess how we write it? Here's how we write it. Write it. Boom. How do we write it? This point right here is just B. If you see that we wrote it out and it's just a letter, that means it's just a point. That's it.
Will there ever be a point without a letter?
I mean, when we're doing these problems, no, because that's how we label it. You can see a shape, and not all the corners will have letters by that, but when we're doing it when they ask you to identify it, it will have some type of letter there, or it will be on a graphing grid, and you'll have to write down the ordered pair where it is. Okay. Next are lines. Lines have at least 2 points. But guess what? Let me use my ruler to make sure it's straight. The thing with lines is they don't stop. Okay. They keep going in both directions. Okay, I'm going to make this point a little bigger. These arrows here show that the lines keep on going. And I'm going to label my points. This is C. This is D. Now I'm going to write it. How do I write it? Oh, write it again. How do I write this line to show that it is in fact a line? How do I write it out? Yes?
Okay, you put a C and then a D next to it.
Yes, because those are the points.
And then you draw a line over it.
Uh-huh.
And you put 2 arrows on the side to show that it keeps going.
Yeah, it goes in both directions.
Or you could do D.
Yeah. Or like she said, you can go D, C. Okay. Doesn't matter what order, but see how I have the arrows going on both ends of the line? That shows that it is a line, not a ray, not a line segment, which we'll talk about later. And they go in both directions. Okay, they go in both directions. So when it asks you to write it, you have to write in your homework, you might have to write, well, whether it's a point or a line segment, then you have to write it the correct way. Okay, the last one that we did in lesson 1 was a line segment. Okay. Now a line segment is very similar to a line. It's very similar in the fact that there are 2 points. And guess what? They're connected. Okay? But who can raise their hand and tell me what's different about this line segment from this line we had up here? How are they different? Bailey.
On the first one, they have arrows telling you that it goes all the way, and then on this one, it doesn't.
These are end points. This is exactly the spot at which the line segment starts and exactly where the line segment ends. Okay, good. They stopped for us. Okay, it's exactly where the line segment starts and exactly where the line segment ends. So, who here has ever played soccer or basketball or football? And we call those lines. So your coach might say, hey, go stand on the goal line. Go stand on the sideline. Go stand, take the ball to the free throw line. I want you to let the coach know, coach, those are line segments. That's the free throw line segment, okay? That's the sideline segment because it ends, doesn't it? It ends where they don't just keep going forever. All right? Otherwise, that'd be crazy. Like, if you're watching, you have your soccer field and there's the midline, the midfield line, the midline. It would go all the way around the earth and come back and meet the other place right there. They don't do that. That's what happened if they were actual lines, but they are line segments. They have a start and a finish to them. Who can tell me how we write it? How do we write this line segment? There's two different ways to do it. Two different ways to do it.
You could write EF with a line over it.
Do I need arrows on the end of this line? Or is it just like, okay, how else?
Or you could do FE.
Yes, thank you, Dominic. Bam, just like that. It shows that since there's no arrows on it, we know it's a line segment. It starts at E and ends at F. It doesn't go past E or F. Okay? So those are lines, points, and lines. Sorry, points, lines, and line segments. Yes?
Like the first one, DC's the brand, and like if you just add an end, it would be like, if you add like an N, it would just be like F.
Yeah. Okay. The next part on lesson 2, it was rays and angles. Oh no, sorry. We have to talk about what those lines do. What happens when lines come in contact with each other? Remember what happens when lines meet? When they come together, what do they do? Now again, we're not talking about talking or playing games. But what happens when lines come together? Okay? Yes, question.
Intersect?
Sometimes. Okay? I'm going to start with these two right here. Have my little arrows because they are lines. They're not just line segments. I'm going to put my points and label them right here. Boom. There's A. There's B. There's C. There's D. Okay. These are what we call parallel lines. Let me make sure I'm spelling that right before we go on. Yes, 2 L's here, 1 EL at the end, because that would have been embarrassing if I would have. Okay, parallel lines never come together or cross. They never come together or cross. Okay? If they continue in both directions, this way and this way, they will never meet each other. They'll just, I like to think of curbs on the street. Okay? Here's my street right here. And I got my little street lines in the middle. Just my little lines in the middle, those yellow ones. And here is my curb on the side of the road. Here's my other curb on the side of the road. And they never run into each other. Okay? Curbs don't like cut across and jump and then keep going that way. This curb won't go, woo, cutting you off. No. They're parallel. Okay? And a way which how we would write that, we have these 2 line symbols that mean parallel. Thank you. Okay, I would say that line AB is parallel to line CD. Okay, that's how I write it. Now another thing they can do, these line segments, they can intersect. That's what Andrew was saying earlier. He says, you know, if these lines come together, when I meant come together, I just meant coming like close from there, like you can see them, but he literally meant when they come together. Okay, so let's say I have a line right here. Boom. Okay. And a line like this. Bam. And let's go ahead and label these. I'm going to go E, F, and G, H now. I like using the alphabet. E, F, G, H. And guess what they do? Guess what happens when these lines come together? What's that called?
Intersecting.
Yes, the lines. When lines or line segments cross, they intersect. Okay? This is the point of intersection. Again, I'm using the street reference. What is this called? Where two roads come? You might see a stop sign. Okay, actually, I might draw little stop signs here and there. You might see stop lights. Okay, but what's this called? The reason why we have to have a stop sign or a stoplight. I'll put one like right here. And yeah, this, I'm gonna make a two-way stop. Little stop sign. I know it's epic. It's awesome. What's this called when two roads come together? You might see stop lights. You might see stop signs. This is a two-way stop, but they gotta wait for these cars. What's that called? Intersection. See how it comes from the word intersect? The two roads are intersecting. Okay? Now, last type of lines coming together that we're going to talk about are when they are perpendicular. Perpendicular. Okay? Now, perpendicular lines, I'm going to use this spot right here. It's going to help me out. I'm going to go. I'm going to use this, the line on the paper for me. Helps me out. Boom. Okay? And I'll make the arrows because these are lines, not line segments. Oops. And a couple things I got to make. 1, 2. So let's see. I, J, K, L, and I'm still not done. I'm going to put this right here. Boop, boop. Okay? What does this little symbol mean? What does it mean? Emma? This is a right angle. Like the corner, like has a square corner at where those lines come together. If we measured it with a protractor, how many degrees would it be? No. 90 degrees, okay? So, when two lines intersect and they make a 90-degree angle, they are perpendicular. So, when lines or line segments intersect and make a right angle, they are, let me use the color right here so you know, perpendicular. Okay, perpendicular. Okay, boom. They have to make a right angle. Okay? Now, here's how we write it. We will say that line IJ, I make sure that's a line, is perpendicular. It's like an upside down T. It's perpendicular to line KL. Boom, boom. Okay? So, we have points and how to write them, lines, how to write them, line segments, how to write them. What happens when lines don't touch? They're parallel. When lines do cross, they intersect. And when lines cross at a 90-degree angle, they are perpendicular.